The crew as a whole may not know much about the Hall of Doors, but they do know that when the granddaughter's eyes glow red and they start speaking in rhymes, it is time to get the hell out.
Dot seems as unprepared as anybody else when Cleo knocks their feet out from under them with a sweeping kick.
Their back hits the floor, and in an instant, Cleo is on top of them, pinning them down with her sheathed sword pressed against their throat.
Hurry! I don't know how long I can hold them!
As flickering dark clouds press against the ship's shattered windows, Dot looks up at Cleo with an unsettlingly calm expression.
Not their old performative calm, not even their newer, strange, unfamiliar calm, but the calm of a confident predator.
They don't struggle. They don't resist. But Cleo feels as though she is the one pinned down. It takes everything she has not to recoil in fear.
This isn't you.
Their eyes lock on hers, twin red lamps.
You think you know me, and you do, but not as well as I know you.
Cleo presses the scabbard down harder across their neck, trying to prevent any more creepy rhymes from coming out. It doesn't feel good to be doing this to Dot, but she feels instinctively that this is not Dot.
Steve is clutching his head bulb in pain, groaning incoherently, eye fluid flickering red.
Oh, what's happening to me? Oh, I can't.
Fuck this! Everett leaps up from where Dot had thrown her and dives for the controls again.
And this time, she makes it.
Discs are disked.
The fold light flashes.
And the ship flies, slamming out of the dark shadows with haste bordering on violence.
Go, go, go!
The hull sloughs away. In a blink, they are soaring through a dazzling realm of soaring mica arches and surging, frothing fold.
Crystals rear from shifting, torrenting fog. Spiraling cyclones of fold splash and burst in freaky gouts of laminar flow.
A glance behind them to see how much ground they've gained, to see how fast that red-tinged storm cloud may be gaining on them, but there's no sign of it.
No doors, no hall. It has vanished as though it was never there, leaving only mica and fold in their wake, which they all observe through windows unmarred by even the slightest scratch.
The cracks in the ship are gone.
The hall! Where did it go?
Face inches from Dot's, Cleo sees the red lights in Dot's eyes fade, replaced by dull, empty black. They lie there so perfectly still, not breathing, that for one awful moment Cleo thinks she's killed them.
Actually, wait a second. Has she?
The only time Cleo's ever seen a dead body,
not counting brief glimpses of the terrorized remains of Shauna Marian, Ephraim, and Abel,
also the gigantic dead mummy guy in the depths,
it was at her grandmother's funeral. Granny had looked so strange, like a sculpture of herself done by an artist who had never really known her. Cleo has a flash of that same stomach-dropping uncanny valley feeling now.
Oh God. Dot seems dead.
But then they blink and look up at her.
Cleo?
Cleo gasps, easing back on the scabbard. Dot! Are you okay?
Dot rubs their neck.
I believe so. Why?
But the ship's sudden lurching flings them both across the floor, cutting all conversation short.
Like a cork popping, there is a jarring, abrupt explosion.
Their vessel and all within are whisked into a seething vortex.
Titanic, interlocking mica formations arch and soar with cosmic splendor.
Gouts of fold gush amongst all these impossible, dizzying, dazzling structures, defying gravity, doing loop-de-loops, as fizzy and frothy and sparkling as cola.
There's an overwhelming impression of enthusiasm, almost of playfulness, as though they are beholding a great and exuberant making.
Possibility and potential in blinding measure.
Infinite, kaleidoscoping loads of sheer creative force spewing into existence in a whirling, frothy torrent.
Whole concepts of reality birthing in a radical surge of expression, trial and error.
Manifesting light, sound, taste, matter, weight, size, feeling, desire, doom, symmetry, and horrific, unrelenting nature in endless forms most beautiful.
Wild and unthinkable notions are vying for survival in this chaotic mess. Lush green fungi quickly blooming to spore.
Wild geologic forms combining and realigning into longer-lasting shapes.
Entire epochs of life cycles for insectoid beasts, converging, copulating, mutating every fleeting moment to survive another moment, kind of like dragonflies fucking in midair, you might say.
The speed and force of the current is magnitudes beyond anything they'd ever experienced before.
The ship is immediately out of control in this, whipping and banging around like a piece of crystal driftwood caught in insane rapids of impossible potentiality.
Huge, tacky globs of primordial gunk adhere to its hull before being callously scraped away by particles of stone, stretches of cloth, woven linkages of barely formed cosmic creatures, and rocky formations of bubbling molten lava.
Shrieks ring out in control. Any objects not bolted down or extruded within the ship are banging around like stones in a rock tumbler.
Bodies are flung with violence, hurled through the air.
And then, suddenly, gently, cocooned, protected by...
Steve?
The frauctopus is floating, his head bulb beaming with fold light-esque intensity, bathing the people and objects throughout control in shimmering light, wrapping them in a cushion of telekinetic safety.
It's like being bricked in dark mica, but much more comfortable and flexible.
I've got you.
Steve grunts, visibly straining.
Fly us through this.
Outside, pure violence and fury.
The ship is slamming and spinning, crashing and hurtling through explosions of matter and mica and crystalline tunnels and darkness and light.
Inside, they seem immune to the bumpy ride, hovering in a field of Steve's radiant force.
Get us to the controls, Steve,
Merlin is yelling,
and we'll do the rest.
"Somebody brick the stagecoach!"
Everett hollers.
"Oh my god, my big puffs, mug!"
Got it! Got it!
Zila grunts as she spins past the appropriate lever. Below decks, the hangar floods with solid dark mica. The stagecoach is secure.
Levers thrown, discs spinning. The ship wrenches upright, spearing through a tsunami of lightning and eyeballs and silk flowers and tentacles.
Into darkness. Then, exploding out into dizzying light, a flash of mica vaults and towering clouds above. Vast rapids of dark fold below, and then they hurtle into clouds again.
Abrupt explosions of light and sound erupt like a cacophonous fireworks display, radiating in colors without name through the windows of the violently tumbling ship.
Stabilized by Steve's telekinetic grip, the crew are feverishly biting the controls, triggering discs to counteract the mad slewing.
Get us somewhere safe. I can't hold you for much longer.
A calamitous impact.
The lower tip of the ship whams into an abrupt mica cliff face, sending the whole thing spinning anew.
Rubble and cardamom and oysters and paint chips appear in instantaneous flashes against the windows of control as the fold light strobes.
The ship attempts to right itself, embroiled in the surging current at a 45-degree angle.
Still more flashes of mica fold explosions rock the vessel. A disordered tempest of fog and rain and hail and pie crust, lashing the helpless crystal shard, cloudbank after searing cloudbank in an ever-changing parade of possible hues and values whipping by.
Until...
The ship, borne by the microscopic molecules of fold, soars for a moment over the brink of an insane fountainhead. The crew have a glimpse of a misty, fold-saturated realm, a dense and folded fog over rocky tidal shoals.
The fold light and Steve flash rapidly. Discs for stabilization and rotation and speed and heading, all attempting to auto-trigger, while countless brassy dials and measurement tools present readings of all sorts.
And settling into a horizontal orientation, gliding now like a crystal paper plane, the ship catches a moment of sick air before slamming, crashing, sideways landing upon a rocky, mossy, loamy beach.
Cowabunga.
Dark soil slides past the windows. moist, dark green mosses. Tiny wriggling worms sliding away from the newly exposed surface that the ship has augured up in its landing.
With a profound shuddering and scraping, it grinds to a halt and stops. Stillness at last.
Steve's head bulb goes dim, and the crew feel his telekinetic grasp release them.
Gravity and physics seize them once more, and they feel momentarily heavy and sluggish.
Steve slumps, panting, exhausted. Furniture, tools, papers, pens, discs, clocks, and tons of other loose junk all flutter to the ground.
Thank you, Steve.
Dot says, straightening their robes.
You protected us. Are you all right?
Steve waves a pedipalp weakly.
Yes, sorry. Just give me a minute. I'll be okay. I haven't done anything like that since before I was exiled. I think the much more pressing question is, are you all right?
Everyone turns their attention to Dot.
Yeah, Dot, what was up with the eyes and the rhymes?
Everett asks.
Eyes and rhymes.
Rawfield trades wary glances with the others.
You don't remember?
All I know is that I suddenly did not want to leave that hall.
Great.
Rawfield sighs grimly.
Let's you and me have a checkup once we're settled here. And you, Steve. Those abilities, did it hurt you to do that?
Steve seems surprised that she's asking, but he courteously replies,
No, I'm just tired. It's a lot of work to carry that many things. Looks like everyone's in one piece. Good. Is the stagecoach okay?
Mickey's checking on that.
Hangar's still full of spare mass, so it's bricked tight. Should be in one piece. Everyone else good?
Rawfield is giving everybody a once-over, and she seems kind of surprised to find no more than a few scrapes and bruises.
Very gallant of you to protect us, Steve, considering your opinion of us.
Steve's eye liquid flickers.
About that, I'm sorry. I really am. I don't know why I said all that. I didn't mean it. Truly, that Hall of Doors did something to me. I felt...
It is as Mother Artifice warned us. Lingering too long in that place exposed us to adverse influences.
And that influence is gone now? Right?
No one says anything. No one has the answer to that.
Merlin is gazing at his three-toed feet in a way that almost looks remorseful.
The ways in which he, the biological man, and Felix are looking and not looking at each other sends nearly physical ripples of tension through the air.
Everyone looks a little sheepish, a little uncomfortable.
Have you ever gotten too drunk with your coworkers and had a hard time feeling comfortable the next day at work? Well, if that experience gave you regrets, just imagine the Monday after doing an intimate 10-way mind meld with your whole office.
Steve shakes himself.
Things were said. I'm sorry.
He seems to direct this apology specifically in Merlin's direction.
I would still be trapped in the Sentinel's cosmos if it weren't for you. You're all very brave. We've been through a lot together. This is all very crazy. Maybe we're all one step closer to home now. Where are we?
Where indeed? The ship is lying on its side now, like a top that has fallen over. The port side wall of control is now its floor, the windows pressed into dark, pebbly sand, the color of blackest cocoa.
The starboard windows, now the ceiling, face a sky of some kind. Luminous pearl gray fog intermingled with ethereal ribbons of gaseous fold.
A frothy tide laps at the ship's ventral peak, while the dorsal point is embedded deep in the slope of the beach.
The fold light, miraculously, is undamaged, though it does flicker and swirl in a slightly bewildered-looking way, as though disoriented to find itself sideways.
Zila is peering out the windows with great interest.
It looks incredible out there. Hambing, what kind of atmospheric conditions are we looking at?
The normally sized terrorologist checks out several of the sideways gauges and instruments.
Looks, actually pretty nice. Pretty temperate, and unless these readings are all broken, I'd say it's kinda like Verger out there, climate-wise.
At the name of her beloved subtropical home islet, Zila yelps with excitement.
Are you kidding? Can we go out? I want to go out if we're all okay now?
Rawfield huffs.
I don't know about okay, but I do support getting out of this ship. In fact, as the ship's doctor, I call a momentary halt to the expedition.
Great, I want to feel the Verger feelings. That sounds amazing. I miss home so much.
Amazing, yes. Assuming we're not instantly attacked by monsters or beset by terrors or subjected to some new deadly cosmic phenomena.
Zila laughs.
Yeah, of course, assuming that, Merlin. But I gotta get out there and look around. Are you seeing this? I gotta take some pictures, make some drawings.
Allow me.
The granddaughter totters unsteadily over to the fold light, using the sideways surfaces of the various instrument banks as stepping stones, and places their gloved hands on the horizontal glass tube.
We'd like to go outside, please.
A portal opens in the upward-facing wall of control, like a skylight, and a helpful set of dark mica stairs extrude into existence to grant easy access.
Thank you,
says the granddaughter.
The air gusting in from outside is a surprisingly comfortable temperature. Not a cold, clinging damp like you might expect from all that fog.
No, they feel instead a mild, hospitable warmth. The humidity feels nourishing rather than sticky, and it carries a vegetal green scent, a dark, heavy petrichor.
Zila eagerly leads the way up the new sideways stairs, and the crew stroll down the ship's outer hull and step off onto the beach.
Without a hint of drama or embarrassment, Zila falls to her knees and digs her hands gratefully into the moist sand, then leans down and presses her whole cheek against it. She takes a huge, regulating breath, just feeling and appreciating the solid ground beneath her.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
A thick layer of viridian green moss blankets the strange small island they find themselves on. And it is an island, not an islet.
All its edges slope smoothly out of the shallow expanse of folds surrounding it.
The moss seems to twinkle like a starry night sky.
Not that the crew know what that looks like, even after all their adventures.
Tiny pinpricks of white appear and disappear in its velvety green.
And only upon closer inspection do the spots reveal themselves to be small white flowers, opening and closing according to some fast-paced respiration cycle.
The fold laps at the rocky shore, the current still quickly flowing from its surreal headwaters.
In every direction around them, thick cloud banks of aerosolized fold and misty waters hem them in.
It's like the low draw distance in early 3D video games. Only barely seen shadows of mountains, islets,
mysterious and unknowable things and places.
In the extreme distance, even perhaps some massive bipedal creature with arms trailing long and distended, wading across the primordial shallows.
It is a classic pea soup fog, a dense mist of water and microorganisms.
As Cleo is taking all this in, the hairs on the back of her neck prickle. She pauses, turns, and peers back at the open aperture in the side of the ship.
From within comes a deep, echoing yowl.
And suddenly a vast form leaps up the stairs and bounds down the side of the ship towards her.
An adult cat differs from a prepupal cat in several ways. First of all, obviously, it's larger, with a longer tail, denser mane, and more variegated coloration. Second of all, it gains the ability to leap through the fold, with bioluminescent toe pads that conjure fleeting terrors wherever they step. Terrors as solid as any solid ground, like invisible platforms for the cat's own personal use.
The creature now galloping toward Cleo is way, way bigger than a cat is supposed to be at any stage in its life. It surpasses even Steve in sheer bulk.
And while its impressively large toe beans do glow with light, its wings are rather more noticeable.
Cats definitely aren't supposed to have those.
Scaled and slightly fuzzy, like a moth's, they are folded along the creature's back, displaying dizzying eye spot patterns in rich shades of cobalt blue and black.
He comes to a nimble stop on the sand next to Cleo and begins sniffing her curiously.
Rather dazed, Cleo looks up into his shiny, black, still familiar eyes.
Omelet? Baby boy? Are you okay? It's me. You still know who I am, right?
A thunderous purr begins to emanate from somewhere within his massive mane.
He pushes into her outstretched hand, nearly knocking her over.
Cleo lets out a cry and flings her arms as far around him as they'll reach, burrowing her face into his fur.
His wings buzz intermittently, fanning her hair.
What the hell is that?
Steve hisses.
Oh, that's a cat!
Yelps Zila in delighted relief, jerking her head up from the sand.
At least he used to be. Wow, some irregularities are present, but that is Omelet.
The thing in the backpack?
Haha, the thing in the backpack.
The biological man's eyes light up with adoration. He claps his hands to his cheeks. He's so big and fluffy!
Zila shoulders her bazooka camera.
Smile.
A bang and a flash as Zila snaps a picture of Cleo and her goodest boy. Steve flinches, head liquid bubbling.
Oh, God, that's bright. Careful with that thing.
As if to illustrate Steve's point, ribbons of fold mist spasm and solidify in the aftershock of the camera flash, turning into delicate sugar sculptures, which quickly begin to dissolve in the humid air.
Sorry, Steve, I didn't want to miss this beautiful reunion.
In the comparative silence and stillness of their crash site, broken only by the thunderous purrs of Omelet, the crew takes it all in. The mist, the ship, the cat, the fold.
Zila adjusts her glasses. She squints. She points.
Hey, Cleo?
What?
Your lights.
Cleo looks down. Her lights glow steadily, consistently, in the way that she used to think was the only way they could glow.
She, along with everyone else, watches for several breathless moments for any sign of dimming, of change, but they continue to shine.
When did that happen?
Did anyone notice the exact moment Cleo's lights went back to normal? I suppose we must content ourselves with the fact that they have.
Cleo gulps.
Then that means...
The biological man gazes into the foggy distance.
We are back in our cosmos. This is the Fount. Thanks for listening to Unend. If you're enjoying the story, please rate and review to help someone new discover the cosmos.
You can catch Unend every Wednesday anywhere you stream podcasts or through the MIDST Podcast YouTube channel.
If you're looking to dive deeper into the story, become a Beacon member at beacon.tv or join the fold on MIDST.co to receive early ad-free access to episodes, behind-the-scenes exclusives, and lore-expanding bonus content.
Or, if you just want to hear this podcast 2 weeks early and without ads, subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
To stay up to date on what's next in the cosmos, sign up for our newsletter on MIDST.co or find us on social media at MIDST Podcast.